News Radio 630 WLAP. Common Sense. Leland Conway on News Radio 630 WLAP and WLAP.com.
Yesterday, another terrorist attack, this one at the Istanbul airport in Turkey. Turkey is helping to fight ISIS, so while I haven't seen this morning, has been an official claiming of responsibility, all eyes are on ISIS as certainly the most successful terrorist group of late, and proving yet again the war on terror is still very real. Joining us now from Tarleton State University in Texas is Dr. Alex Del Carmen, who heads up the School of Criminology, Criminal Justice, and is a terrorism analyst. Good morning, Dr. Carmen. How are you?
Good morning.
I mean, let's start with this. I mean, I haven't seen, but you being an analyst may have. Has there been any claiming of responsibility? Sometimes it takes 24 hours or more.
So we have not seen anyone take responsibility as of yet.
How did this break down? I understand it was 3 shooters. They started out by shooting in the security area before people were checking in there, so before being cleared from security. This has long been a nightmare scenario, and it first played out in Belgium, but it's been a nightmare scenario for Americans. Given some of the situations that we've seen at the TSA, are we focusing our security in the wrong place by patting down grandma instead of recognizing the danger in areas where that choke point is for security?
Yeah, so I think it's a matter of not necessarily, doing our security incorrectly per se, but it's a matter of fortifying the security that we don't have yet. And what I mean by that is these are soft areas in airports where, pretty much anyone can come in without any kind of metal detection or any type of security protocol, and the terrorists know that, and so they're taking full advantage of those areas to try to penetrate and attack our soft targets.
I don't understand what that statement means. I mean, because either we are doing security right or we have a huge hole. I mean, you can't have. I mean, any security expert will tell you that you can move the concentric rings of security back, but you're always going to have checkpoints at entry points. So how do we stop that?
So I think it's security goes in layers, and here what we have is we have an outer layer of the security perimeter which is not secured. And so what that means is that it's not a matter of doing security right or wrong. It's a matter of making it bulletproof, and that's incredibly hard to do. It's not impossible, but it's hard to do. So the question really comes down to whether or not people are willing and able and are participants in that security protocol and are willing to basically have our government scan them all the way from the time that they enter the airport in their vehicle all the way until they leave. And so that's going to cause delays. That's going to make people upset because, they're being unjustifiably detained until such time that they're allowed to come into the airport. So if we as Americans are willing to do that, then I think the security can in fact improve.
That doesn't sound like a very American thing to do, though.
Because we Americans are a bit impatient from time to time. We want things quickly. We want things to happen right away. And so there's always a balance in the security industry between what is feasible, what is doable, and how we can basically live our daily lives in a respectful way, but yet at the same time protect our citizens.
Okay, don't tell me what maybe is debatable, but tell me what you think as a security and the head of a criminology school and a terrorism analyst. Don't tell me whether or not we would agree,
need to do a better job of protecting our citizens. There's no question.
What does that mean? What does better job mean? I mean, everybody in the world says that after a terrorist attack, we all want to do a better job. But specifically, what would you do if you were in charge of, say, the Dallas-Fort Worth airport?
So what I would do is I would make sure that the outer layers of security at the airport are fortified, that we have metal detection, sensors, that we also inspect the vehicles underneath the vehicles to make sure there are no explosives underneath it.
Right.
I would also make sure that individuals that come into the airport are singled out, randomly selected, placed in different areas so that they actually are screened to make sure they don't have any explosive devices on them. I would also put metal detectors at the very entry of the waiting areas at the airport for anyone coming in to greet a loved one.
Okay, and that's what I'm kind of getting at, is what are the concrete measures you would take to try to secure that airport. How much do you estimate, and I'm just trying to be realistic here, how much do you estimate that would slow down the average person's approach to and entry into the airport, so that, you know, it would have to be presented to the American people, as you were discussing earlier? Hey, look, it's going to take you an extra half hour. It's going to take you an extra hour. You're going to know this going in. If you want these things to be more secure, this is what it's going to take. So how much time would you estimate if you were doing a presentation on security at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, or, you know, here at Bluegrass Airport or Louisville Airport? What would you say would be the extra time the average flyer or person trying to get into the airport is going to have to add to their trip?
So I'll give you an average, but at the same time, keep in mind that this is all based on how much money goes into it, and then how much personnel is hired,
sure,
and how many points of entry and departure there are at the airports. But on the average, I would estimate between 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay, so you would add that to our current time. Now, it almost seems as though that might actually make security at the main security checkpoint flow a little smoother, because you would have people being checked sort of at various points for various different reasons throughout the airport, which would act somewhat as a strainer, slowing down a little bit of the movement towards that ultimate security post, which would make that more steady instead of a backup. I mean, am I envisioning that correctly?
No, that's exactly right, and it would also allow for people that are coming to the airport for practically no reason at all to stay away from the airports. It would make people think twice. It would certainly make a terrorist think twice before going to an airport to detonate an explosive or shoot at people, because they would know that, you know what, today I may be randomly selected as one of the ones that are going to be isolated in the corner, and then at that point I'm not going to be able to penetrate the airport.
Right, and honestly, as we do this and you thin it out, then while there are still more checkpoints, there's still fewer people at each of those checkpoints. So now the decision to detonate a bomb or something gives you less casualties, which is going to lower the payoff, if you will. I hate to put it that way, but for terrorist organizations. I see where you're going with this. I hesitate to even begin to think what it would cost, and as we were talking about earlier, some of the debates that would arise, what the airlines industry would say to having to add another hour and how that might damage their ability to sell. But the logic of it is either we're safe or we're not, and I think we have to learn to accept either the consequences of not being safe or need to decide which we want to do.
Right. So a lot of it is going to depend also on in terms of dollars, as to whether or not the airports are going to have, are going to be able to do that. There are airports in our United States that are so old that they would nearly have to be rebuilt in the outer perimeters to be able to host that type of security protocol. And others would rather do it very quickly. But having said all of that, keep in mind, too, that once we make it really difficult for terrorists to come into our airports, the next step is going to be for them to go into a mall or to an open area or to a concert. And so the disease is going to attack you wherever the disease feels that you're most vulnerable. So, while we're going to be able to fortify airports, we're not going to be able to secure the other areas.
That's a terrific point, and it speaks to our tendency as humans to really only conceptualize danger based on essentially exactly how it happened the last time. You know, a frozen pond is a frozen pond, and it's dangerous either way. It doesn't have to be the first one you walked on and fell through. It's going to be a dangerous situation, and as you say, we're going to push terrorism out to other soft targets. There's no end to soft targets. Is that the part that frightens you the most?
Absolutely, and as long as ISIS is around, and is going to be around for a long time, you have folks that are going to be either demented or following a different ideology, copycats and whatnot, that is going to be, it's kind of like the disease that is spread without any type of control. Yeah. I don't think even ISIS knows how many followers it has throughout the world. And so by virtue of that, you have people with the right, quote-unquote, right attitude, with the commitment to damage our principles in the United States that are so sacred to us, and we're giving them the opportunity to do so.
Yeah. Are we more or less in danger now that ISIS is losing territory? Are they like a cat in a bathtub? You know, I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried to give a cat a bath, but when they get in that situation, they do absolutely everything in their power not to. In other words, is it amplifying their power that they're losing their territory?
I wouldn't say that it's amplifying their power, but by virtue of its existence and the number of years that they've been around, what we are seeing is we are seeing them grow in areas that they wouldn't have otherwise. Even the FBI director said recently that, ISIS followers or sympathizers are present throughout the entire 50 states of the U.S. And so clearly you see that there is a heavy presence throughout the world, and at any minute they can strike without notice.
You like that cat in a bathtub analogy, didn't you? You wanted to laugh, didn't you, Dr. Del Carmen?
Sadly in these days, humor is not a bad thing, but it certainly comes in rare occasions. But it is a good analogy, absolutely.
You're going to go home and give your wife's cat a bath or something in the bathtub and say, was he right about that? All right, Dr. Del Carmen, thanks so much for a very good conversation. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, that's Dr. Alex Del Carmen at the University, Tarleton State University in Texas. I just was trying to get to the nut of it because, and I understand.